now pointing to Greenhaven and Ossining, sometimes known as Sing Sing. These two institutions are located nearest New York City. This is Great Meadow, located at Comstock, New York, 5 miles from the Vermont border. Clinton is an institution located near the Canadian border.
You've traveled to Clinton for the commission. How did you get there, Mr. Addison? To Montreal?
Yes, I left LaGuardia, flew to Montreal, and then we drove approximately 54 miles to Clinton. This is Auburn and, of course, Attica.
Now, Attica is a maximum security institution, am I correct?
Yes, it is.
Now, what is the distribution of inmates among these different types of institutions, maximum, medium, and minimum security?
90% of the prison population in New York State is in maximum security institutions. Less than 10%, or 8.2%, is in medium security institutions.
And minimum security institutions?
There's only 1% of the population in minimum security institutions.
I think we have a chart on this, which is being put on camera now. Do I understand, Mr. Addison, that these percentages which you gave reflect the way in which adult males are actually distributed among these different types of institutions?
That's true.
Does this also reflect the relative capacities of these institutions?
Yes, that is to say that New York State
Males 12 years of age or older.
Yes, we are.
Now, how are inmates assigned to these different institutions?
I have a chart which describes how the inmates are assigned to our institution. However, I should say that the system is divided into judicial districts. Inmates in New York City or in the metropolitan area of New York are, first of all, assigned to Sing Sing or Ossining, which is a reception center. They are then sent to other institutions. Some ultimately go to Attica, some Auburn, some Clinton. In the other part, the northern parts of New York State, inmates are sent to Attica, which is considered the reception center. Now at Attica and also at Ossining, there is what is established a classification committee consisting of staff members of the institution. They look at the background of the inmate, and based upon criteria which they establish, they decide where the inmate will ultimately spend his time.
Mr. Addison, have you and Ms. Barden and other members of the staff under your supervision analyzed the trends in the population in our adult male maximum security institutions over the last 10 years?
Yes, we have.
Now, you've prepared a chart for this purpose.
Yes, I have. Now, this chart portrays the numbers and categories of prison admissions from 1962 through 1971. And there are three categories. Violators, which are indicated by the diagonal line. Recidivists, by the dotted lines. And new court commitments in the solid white area. By violators, we mean men released from prison to parole and supervision before their maximum sentence expires, and who are returned to prison because of a violation of the terms of that release. The number of men in this category has almost doubled in the 10-year period. The average figure is 33.2%, or 1/3 of total prison admissions.
Do I understand that that's 1/3 of the inmates who are admitted to these maximum security institutions in any one year has averaged at approximately 1/3 being parole violators?
You're correct. For example, in 1962, 3,426 men were admitted to the institutions. Of these, 983 were violators. And in 1971, 1,826 men, 5,285 men were admitted into the system, and of these, 1,826 were violators.
Now, you mentioned a category of recidivists.
Yes.
Would you give the public a description of what constitutes a recidivist for the purpose of this chart?
Well, our working definition of a recidivist or recidivists are men who have previously served time in a state, local, or federal prison and are now being returned for some new crime. Recidivists account for 74% of the men committed to prison by the courts. They make up 44% of total admissions. Now, this figure, in all probability, is considerably higher. It does not include out-of-state commitments. And in addition, the record from which this data has been taken does not always show a follow-up on previous convictions.
Now, the third category was new admissions, and that's shown on the chart as it appears on a television screen by the white part of the chart.
That's correct.
Can we have a camera on that chart? And that white part that shows up on the screen represents the percentage of total inmates who are admitted and who are not there either as parole violators or have not previously been confined in an institution.
That's correct.
And that appears to be a rather small percentage of the total. What does it come to, Mr. Addison?
The total number of admissions has increased from 3,400 in 1962 to 5,300 in 1971, or an increase of roughly 40%.